There comes a point in your relationship with a narcissist that you see their true face. There comes a point when you determine the difference between their true self and their mask, their facade and the real them. When you're dealing with a narcissist, there comes a point when the mask cracks, crumbles, slips, and drops. Whenever you see a crack in the narcissist mask, it's really just an accident. They don't really mean for that mask to have a crack in it. It just so happens to crack, and you just so happen to catch a glimpse. When you reach a point to where a narcissist mask begins to slip, that is just a sneak peek. You're getting a better look, a closer look as to who they really are. When it gets to the point to where the narcissist mask drops completely, you'll find yourself in a state of disbelief. You're going to be in shock. And finally, when the narcissist mask begins to crumble, you're going to be in complete devastation. Do you recall the day the narcissist mask cracked and you caught a glimpse of their true face? Were you shocked and appalled? Most of us are. When I was with the narcissist and his mask would either crack, crumble, slip, or drop, there were 3 stages that I went through. The first stage was, of course, the exposure. Narcissists begin to expose themselves, whether it's through their words or their actions, their terrible deeds, their terrible behavior. They basically flip the switch, but they're not in control of this flipping of the switch. When their mask slips, they have simply lost control. They're not able to hold up their facade anymore. Their cruelty has reached an all-time high, and they begin to show you something that you've never seen before. The demons actually begin to manifest in this narcissist. You're no longer looking at their face. You're no longer looking at the face of a human being. When that mask falls, you're staring a demon right into their eyes. You start saying to yourself, something is just not right. Something is off. Something is terribly wrong. This isn't normal. When I was with a narcissist, in general, he could be quite cruel. But there were some instances where it was straight up demonic. One time, I tried to talk to the narcissist about his constant cheating, his constant disrespectful behavior, constantly hanging out late at night, and etc. And I remember one time bringing up divorce. Maybe we should just not do this anymore. Maybe we should get a divorce. And he looked at me with a straight face. And he says to me, I don't need a divorce to move on. You do. And I was immediately taken aback by how cruel and cold he sounded. But I knew immediately that he meant every word of it. He was absolutely serious. It was very, very hard for me to believe and to understand, to wrap my brain around how he could say something like that. How he could be so cruel and cold, calculated. I was so shocked that my words were taken from me. I couldn't say a word. Deep down on the inside, I always knew he didn't have a respect for our marriage. But when he put it like that, when he let that come out of his mouth, it became very, very real. I began to understand that he really didn't care about the fact that we were married. He just painted a very true picture. The coldness of his words matched the reality. He was no longer trying to pretend that he was okay being a married man. He let me know flat out that he wasn't. When he said things like marriage was just a piece of paper, the government can't tell you that you're married. When he said things like this, and then he turned around and said that statement, he didn't need a divorce. He can move on without it. That let me know just how much he didn't care about marriage on its own or being married to me. It meant nothing. If Tell Me How You Really Feel was a person that day, it was definitely a narcissist. The next time the narcissist mask crumbled was a time that I will never forget. The narcissist wanted to use my vehicle to go gamble in, to go hang out late at night, to go on another drunken stupor, a drunken binge. And I decided that I was not going to let him use my car for that. I tried to hide the keys from him in my bosom. The narcissist got increasingly angry, increasingly violent, and upset. He cornered me in my office and he pushed me down to the floor. I was so afraid of the narcissist punching me, so used to him punching me as the next thing that he would do, that I began to get in a fetal position and cover my head so that he could not punch me in my face or my head. Next I knew it, the narcissist was sitting on top of me and he had my arms and legs to the point to where I could not move. And I'm still covering my face, trying to hide my face and my head. And he is fighting me for an open space to get to my face. And when he could not punch me because he didn't have enough room or the open space that he wanted, he kept following my twitching. And when he saw an open space, he spat in my face. This is when I knew the narcissist was completely evil. Let alone the punches that he had given me to my face over the years. This particular situation was the ultimate disrespect. The fact that he knew that I was trying to cover my face and I didn't want him to do anything to me. I didn't want to be harmed in any way. The fact that he sat there and looked for an open space to insult me really made that mask crumble. I started to get a true understanding of just how diabolical he was, just how evil and demonic that he was. When his mask crumbled in front of me, I went into a complete shock. I went straight into a panic attack. I was hysterical. I went to the bathroom to try to wash my face and I was in complete panic. I kept saying to myself over and over again, I can't believe he did that. My heart was beating out of my chest. I was hyperventilating and I could not catch my breath. I could not believe that my own spouse was treating me that way. I could not believe my newlywed husband was treating me this way, that he had done this to me, that he had it in his heart to do so, that he could be so cruel, mean, low down, and nasty to someone he claimed that he loved. This hysteria that I went through sent me straight to the hospital a few days later. I would end up in the emergency room with all types of tubes stuck to my head, stuck to my brain. They were trying to measure my brain activity and figure out why was I having what's called brain tremors. I lost control of mobility. I was not able to keep my head still. My head did a involuntary, violent swing from side to side, a shaking, if you will, very violently from left to right. It was uncontrollable. I could not sleep. I had not slept for days. Every time that I would close my eyes, I would see the narcissist spitting in my face. I couldn't get that image out of my head for days, for weeks. I lost control of my speech. I was not able to speak clearly. I was not able to speak without severe stuttering. I felt an involuntary pushing on my vocal cords. I was not able to walk in a coordinated manner. I could not walk without falling down because of the violent shaking of my head. I could not get the signal from my brain to my limbs to work correctly. I was not able to work at my job. I wasn't able to function at my desk. I could not talk on the phone. I could not do my work without shaking all over the place. I had to miss work, and I had to be prescribed some very strong sleeping pills so that I could rest. I thank God that my body did eventually recover. But it's a day that the mask slipped that I will never forget. The next stage that I had to go through was discernment. And initially, when the mask slipped with a narcissist, I had a very difficult time processing. I had a very difficult time using my discernment. As a newlywed, I felt like I'm sick, so I need my spouse to take care of me. And I went right back to the arms of the abuser. I went right back to the arms of the person who put me in the hospital in the first place. The narcissist was super paranoid, super nervous, super afraid to be around me. The look on his face was like he knew he had done something wrong, but he did not want to admit to it. He did not want to talk about it or speak about it. He didn't really help me very much while I was sick, except for picking me up off the floor 1 or 2 times when I fell. He also called a nurse to ask her what he could do to stop the shaking. Never once did the narcissist apologize for anything that he did after his mask slipped. In fact, he added insult to injury. Once I was completely healed from the situation, from the breakdown of my body, he looked at me and the mask slipped again. He looked at me and he said, "It's your fault if you can't handle someone spitting on you." The mask slipped out of nowhere. I was completely healed. There was no need for someone to bring this up again. But he brought it up again. He brought it up again as a punishment. The narcissist is always going to try to punish you whenever they don't get their way, whenever they're triggered in any way. The more and more that his mask would slip or crumble or drop, my discernment started to increase. The Lord started to speak to me. The Lord started to tell me different things. As I was recovering, I asked the Lord, why was he having me sleep so much? And he said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary or heavy laden, and I will give you rest." I asked him, as I was sleeping, why did I see little green people marching around my bed? I assumed that the sleep medication was too strong. And God gave me discernment, and he says to me, that was my hedge of protection surrounding you. And I said, okay, God, if it was a hedge of protection, why was it moving? And he told me it was because He was breathing on me. He was breathing the breath of life back into me. After you see something like a mask slip off a narcissist, you need to talk to God. You need to go before his throne. Let him speak to you in the still of the night. And he will begin to give you revelation. He will begin to give you knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And this will be your cue to take heed to everything that the Lord is saying to you. This leads me to my last stage, which is acceptance. Once you have saw the narcissist mask slip, you have to believe what you saw. You cannot try to talk yourself out of it. You cannot try to make excuses for them. You cannot try to say that you didn't see what was actually there. You have to accept the fact that you did see the demon. No amount of you trying to love this narcissist, no amount of you wanting your marriage or your relationship to work is going to undo what has been done. That demon did manifest through the slipping of that mask. Consider yourself blessed if you finally saw it. God will provide a way of escape for you. You have to accept the fact that you are unequally yoked with an unbeliever. You have to accept the fact that God did not join the two of you together. You have to accept the fact that you cannot walk with this person because you do not agree. You have to accept the fact that this person is not a suitable mate for you. It does not matter how many years you have been quote unquote married. It does not matter if you just got married, if you're still newlyweds. Whenever you see this mask slip, it is time for you to dip. You cannot have communion with the demon. Light and darkness should have no fellowship with each other. You have to accept the fact that you cannot be with this narcissist. Accept the fact that you are headed for destruction if you stay. You have to accept the fact that you made a miscalculation in your judgment. Accept the fact that you made a wrong decision. Make up in your mind that you're going to get away and stay away from an abuser. Make up in your mind that you do not deserve to be punished. You do not deserve to dwell in misery. Accept the fact that you deserve a peace of mind. You deserve to be loved, cherished, honored, and respected. Accept the fact that you do not belong in a perpetual state of darkness. Understand that you belong in the marvelous light.